Hello, my name is Sean Ferguson, and I'll be your tuba instructor for this video series. The tuba is both the largest and the lowest instrument in the brass family. This makes tuba a very physical instrument by nature. However, with enough time and patience, I believe anyone can master the instrument. In this video series, we will be focusing on the core fundamentals of tuba performance. So, before we can really play, we really need to talk about how we sit or stand with our instrument, which we call posture. Good posture allows for a performer to play as comfortably and as openly as possible, whereas bad posture can restrict the flow of air to our mouthpiece and tense the muscles needed to play the valves. Let's see what it looks like when we play a concert tuba. First, we should be sitting on the front half of our chair. Our feet should be planted flat on the ground. Next, our ears, shoulders, and hips should be aligned vertically. We don't want to slouch. The tuba should rest comfortably on your lap. Make sure to bring the tuba to you and not vice versa. Your right hand should wrap comfortably around the tuba and rest cleanly on top of the valves. If you have a top action tuba, then your hand should be raised up like you're waving hello to someone. And in both cases, really, the wrist should not break. Next, let's look at marching tubas. There are many different variations of marching tubas, but we can use this as a guide. Number 1, let's check our 5 points of alignment: ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. Technically, you can have your feet in any which way you want. Personally for me, I like to have my feet in open first position. Next, make sure your tuba is resting comfortably on the shoulder. Make sure that the tuba is not too close to your head or too far away from your head. In fact, you want it so that the mouthpiece can go directly to your face and you don't have to turn or tilt your head to get to the mouthpiece. And finally, your arm should be in a triangle position, one hand grabbing and stabilizing the horn while the other one is resting on the valves. I like to keep both my thumb and the pinky above or around the rings. For both of these examples, check yourself out with a mirror and make sure you're always sitting or standing correctly with your tuba. Let's talk about the first core element of producing sound on the tuba: air. Air is the fuel for our lips to vibrate inside the mouthpiece. Although there are many different variations of breathing techniques, I will be showing you an exercise I do every day as a warm-up. This exercise is called the valves up, valves down exercise. This exercise is used to develop a strong, consistent airstream through the horn while simultaneously working on breathing in for one count. Let's take a look. So as you can see, this entire exercise is going to be done without playing. The first 3 beats of the exercise is blowing air through your horn with your valves up. You want to use all your air in those 3 beats. On the 4th beat, you want to breathe in as much air as you possibly can. Make sure that the air is either going in your lungs or out your lungs. We don't want to cap the breath. After you go through one cycle of the exercise, you're going to continue to repeat it. Here is the full exercise as follows: 4 up, 4 down, 3 up, 3 down, 2 up, 2 down, and finally 1 up and 1 down. Let's try the whole thing. Now here are some things that we need to think about when we're breathing. The first thing we need to think about is breathing low. We want to breathe from our diaphragm. Breathing from our shoulders is never the right way to breathe. In fact, it doesn't help us at all to breathe. Sometimes tensing up the shoulders can even restrict your airflow as it creates more tension. We also want to make sure that we are breathing quietly. When we breathe in, we don't want to make a sound. In fact, if we hear a sound, that means somewhere from our mouth all the way down to our lungs, something is constricting the airflow. And finally, if this exercise does make you lightheaded in any way, make sure to take a quick break. If you want to learn more about breathing, check out Breathing Gym by Sam Palafian and Patrick Sheridan. Now let's do a little bit of playing. Before we can actually play the horn, we're going to focus on the mechanism that creates the sound, our lips. To practice this in its most basic of forms, we will be buzzing on the mouthpiece. So let's take the mouthpiece out of our horn, and with our left hand, we're going to hold the mouthpiece with our thumb, index finger, and middle finger. For our first exercise, we're going to start by creating the sound. So bring your mouthpiece to your face, form your embouchure, and begin to blow air through the mouthpiece. As you are blowing air, slowly begin to close the aperture of your lips. This is the space between your lips. As you begin to develop a buzz, find the widest your aperture can go before it begins to fizz out. That openness is what we want to emulate every single time when we are playing. The more the aperture is closed, the less control we have with pitch and tone. Having a nice wide open aperture allows us to have a nice wide and open sound. Now, let's find an F on the mouthpiece. We'll be using a drone to find it. Use an air attack. Sustain the pitch for as long as you can. Center the pitch and use the air to keep it stable. The next exercise we are going to do is called sirens. The goal of this exercise is to sustain the air while we play from the lower tessitura to the higher, and vice versa. Let's start by sustaining a very comfortable pitch. It can either be B flat or a pitch you choose. Since many mouthpieces are different, your comfortable pitch might be different than mine. Now let's smoothly move up in pitch, keeping the air consistent. Now move down. Make sure to keep the sound consistent. The siren should sound and feel smooth. If there are any breaks in the sound, then that means we are manipulating the aperture or the lips in general. The aperture should feel nice and open. Refer back to our first buzzing exercise we have done. Sirens are a really great way of building flexibility, which we will be going over in a later episode. Alright, let's plug in our mouthpiece and get to playing. We're going to start with playing a low B flat. One more time. As we play, remember what we learned from posture, breathing, and buzzing. Sit nice and tall and relax your body. You want to look strong, but you don't want to necessarily be tense. Breathe low. Breathe from the diaphragm. Stay as open as possible. Do not tighten your aperture. Let's try this exercise again and focus on playing B flat 4 times in a row. As we move on to the next video, it is important to remember everything that we learned in this video, as it's critical for future success. See you then!